After just 6 years of paramountcy as the foremost shipwright in the Mauritian freehold, Tamworth Shipwrights faced bankruptcy. Choosing to restructure the company rather than dissolve, the board ousted its director and hired director engineer Bailey Cranson from the small but quickly growing Stellar Ships Guild to see it through. Selling off most of Tamworth's manufacturing facilities to its bitter rival Girardine Drives Guild, as well as the manufacturing licenses for many of its most popular designs, Cranson pledged that the newly reorganised Tamworth Starship Engineering Corporation would not fall back on its existing assets to save itself. From this vision came the single most produced armed spacecraft family in the history of Tantalus, the Tamworth Contender Gun Schooner. Approaching nearly 900 units sold under various sub-licensed manufacturers and frames, since production began in 241 PCU, the ship is credited as the focal point of the project that saved Tamworth. The most common frame seen across Tantalus is the Contender Draft 2, being the least expensive. This version is 110 metres in length and 37.9 metres across. The Contender carries 4 General Smithing Guild single-barreled 32-inch rail-laid carronades and 4 Hazy Stephen Smith twin-barreled 4.7-inch swivel gun emplacements, which are common across all frames. The Draft 2 began production being propelled by one large Grover Lifts Guild Concussor 99 DFTR engine and 2 smaller Concussor 127 DFTR engines. Newer developments have replaced them by different variations and new, less expensive designs from Doro propellants. The Tamworth Contender was intentionally conceived as the most desirable entry-level armed spacecraft for young Mauritian freelancers purchasing their first ship, similar to the Porter medium packet schooner for freight haulers. The systems comprising the Draft 2 model are meticulously budgeted so that the final cost of the ship falls just below the amount of money afforded by a young Mauritian's state-given stipend. Nearly all of the components are off the shelf to conform to standardized specifications and measurements. Though this slightly increased the consumer price as many of the components were initially purchased from subcontractors, the ship's operators benefit from very inexpensive maintenance and repair over the lifetime of the ships. As of 300 PCU, 5 framings of the Contender Gun Schooner have been manufactured by 3 shipwrights. They are identified by draft number, indicating the production series, as well as the following letters, identifying specific subclasses and types. The first production model of the Contender was the Draft 1, which did not meet the goals set forth by Cranson. It was actually relatively expensive compared to other ships in its weight class, including Tamworth's previous Camber Caravel. This apparent gaffe earned much ridicule by Mauritian and Centran press alike. In fact, the high list price was intentional, as their situation did not afford them the benefit of slim margins. In spite of Cranson's unexpected passing in 244 PCU, the company continued production at a steady pace. By 247 PCU, Tamworth accrued enough capital from the sale of these Draft 1s to expand their production facilities and begin mass manufacturing a new, cheaper version. Taking advantage of economies of scale and various efficiencies, the Draft 2A fell well below the target price, and so mass production began on the 23rd of Equinox 248 PCU, the first units being sold exclusively to up-and-coming freelancers later that same year. In 267 PCU, upon ascending to the office of Operations Director, the unscrupulous businessman Alex Stowe made it the company's mission to turn the Tamworth Contender into the single most produced armed ship design in Tantalus history, with a target set for 1,000 units moved by 300 PCU. Since his takeover, the consensus among captains has been that the quality has steadily decreased, as Stowe mandated various cost-saving measures be implemented across the course of production. The most recent Draft 2E has been by far the most poorly received model since the Contender's introduction. The Draft 3P, also manufactured by Tamworth, replaced the Draft 1 as the more premium frame, catering to successful captains later in their careers. Shortly after his takeover, Stowe began granting production licenses to other shipwrights, including Stellar Ships Guild and MR Holdings. Draft 4 are broadly comparable to Draft 3s, but typically lack the premium finishing, and are primarily sold to large paramilitary companies such as Latimer Associates and Selkirk Risk Management, rather than individual operators. Despite an extremely successful sales portfolio across Tamworth's freighter production lines, the sale of fighting ships slowed through the mid-80s. Company insiders alleged that Stowe had become erratic out of fear that his pet project would not come to fruition. The outbreak of the Frontier War in 290 PCU, however, dramatically raised his spirits. In need of a large number of inexpensive ships, the Frontier Union purchased Contender Draft 2Ds in bulk. The sheer volume of orders exceeded Tamworth's production capacity early in the war, and the influx of currency once again drove a new facility expansion. This boon would be compounded with the formation of the Mauritian State Guard, as Stowe secured an exclusive contract for their lightweight cruising ships. Draft 5 constitutes purpose-built units for this role, with technical specifications uncharacteristically a closely guarded trade secret. It is speculated that the Contender Draft 5 is more comparable to an expensive Helton and Heath design than any typical Tamworth vessel. Though Bailey Cranson passed away before seeing her vision through, her Contender Gun Schooner is credited with saving Tamworth Starship Engineering and propelling it back into its position as Duridine's foremost rival. With the onset of the Great Famine and accompanying increase in piracy, production of these fighting ships has only increased, and contenders are expected to continue patrolling Mauritian trade lanes for a great many seasons to come.